It's a very important show because I think by now people are kind of realizing for the first time
destroys nations. And it's what happens when a country starts printing money like Zimbabwe did, which went down. And now America is doing the same thing right now. We're going down because we print money.
It's going to be a very important show because I think by now people are kind of realizing for the first time that printing money doesn't work. And that's their only solution they got left. We come with different solutions. As they say, demography is destiny. So when you watch what the demographics are doing, you can almost predict the future. Is what's happening with the people is the future. And we're now in a triple bubble. We have a real estate bubble, stock market bubble, and bond bubble. I think people are finally waking up that something might be wrong.
$300 trillion, give or take, disappears in financial assets and doesn't come back for a long time. That's the big news. By my demographic analysis, the greatest boom in history. When I was predicting this in the 80s, people thought I was crazy that the US could do so well. They thought Japan and Asia was going to take over the world. I said, no, that we still have a giant, one of the best baby booms in history coming along, and they're going to spend and earn a lot of money, and we're going to have the greatest boom in history from 1983 to 2007. And then 2008, of course, it did go down. And I predicted that 20-some years before it happened, okay? But forget that. That caused a shock to the economy. And then governments have been printing money ever since. Now, to print money for a year to overcome a strong downturn like 2008-9, I'd agree with that. 1 year of money printing. To be printing money 13, 14 years and escalating and printing and fiscal stimulus combined after COVID for 2 years, $10 trillion, half of GDP, is insanity. So this shows how crazy things have gotten. Governments we should have had, my forecast all the way back to the 80s when I started with my generation cycles and technology cycles every 45 years, the generation are more like 38, 39. And we'd have the greatest boom in history, but it would slow after 2007 and not come back with the millennials until about 2023, 24. Well, what we have now is we have the greatest bubble in history because governments fought the slowdown after 2008, which was very serious and would have been more serious and should have lasted into 2010, much like the 29 to 32 collapse. They just bubbled up financial assets. They haven't changed, incomes and stuff. They bubbled up financial assets, which means the rich, which were already getting richer in the greatest bubble boom in history, got even richer, and everyday people are still struggling. And now we have an economy, and I've been warning for years, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but it's happening now. You can't do this forever. You can't just print money and grow an economy past its fundamentals of what I study better than I think anybody in the world. When do people earn and spend money over their life cycle? What's the life cycle of people, and how do generations, particularly the largest in history, at least the largest in 250 years, the baby boom generation, affect that boom and bust? And we are still in the bust wake of the baby boom's peak into 2023, 24 before we can grow through natural causes. And I see that this government printing scheme is now failing, despite printing more and more, failing anyway, because you can't do this forever, and it's going to collapse, which is just in time for us to balance out the economy so we can grow again with the millennial generation from 2024 forward. So I'm happy to see this collapse. I'm happy to see a downturn, damn it. We should have had a bigger one in 2008, 9, and 10 and got rid of most of this bad debt. Now we have more bad debt than ever. We're going to get rid of it in the next few years. It's going to be painful.
So you and I agree on the causes and symptoms and what's happening.
We have the most common sense approach. I mean, it's not only factual, it's common sense that you can't just grow by printing money out of thin air. I mean, how common sense could it be than that? Printing money since 2009. This is insanity. You know what? Who are the most insane people in the world? People who get high, okay? It doesn't matter whether it's heroin or crack or alcohol. People get high and then they do stupid stuff because their brain stops working. The whole world is high on nonstop stimulus since 2009, and this will not end well. You weren't around from late 29 to 42 when it went down lower and lower and did not get back to even until 1953, 25 years later. That's called smoking crack. We're bouncing out of that. It's not that strong a bounce, by the way. I don't think it's going to last past this month if it has not already peaked. The proof of my concept, and I think Robert's here, obviously, if we see another wave down, which would be the logical thing, forget everything we're saying. If I'm just looking as a stock chartist, we had this first crash, a tepid bounce, and we have another one of the same magnitude. We're going to see 73.50, on the NASDAQ, down more than 50% by late this year, early next year, and then people are going to know something is really wrong.
And that's for the baby boomers, because we were the boom generation. 1974, the government passed ERISA, which became the 401k, which is the biggest Ponzi scheme I ever saw. And now they're pulling the rug out from all the baby boomers. So the baby boomers are toast. So they were the boom, now they're the bust. How come people don't know this? What blocks them from knowing?
You believe what you want to believe because you want to believe it. The baby boom did cause, and I was the first one to say it, and it took me to the mid-'80s. I didn't get it in 1982 for it. This generation's going to go into their peak spending cycle all the way into 2007, greatest boom in history, going to make the 50s and 60s Bob Hope generation look like nothing, but then it's going to crash.
Okay.
So that's the problem now. It did crash, and the bigger problem is government said, well, we're not going to let it crash. And I'm like, who the hell are you? A bunch of politicians that never did anything for a living, most of you, and say, oh, we're just not going to let the economy do what the economy will do to correct an imbalance of overinvestment in bubbles and financial assets and bring them down to normal so we can grow again. They're fighting it.
And I said the biggest crash was coming. It's here now.
And they're still fighting it, and it's still going to happen anyway. It's going to get worse than people think, even now when it's finally starting to go down despite.
Why do they believe these guys like Jim Cramer? Whatever Cramer predicts, you go short.
He's a smart idiot. He just entertains. He has nothing to do with the truth. All I do is research what happens in history, what causes things and what doesn't, and that's the truth. You do not get a bubble like this. There has been no bubble anytime in all of history that has not burst badly and rapidly when it does, and it's already started.
One of the problems is people choose the wrong prophet.
They choose what they want to hear. If you're in a boom and you're invested in the boom, I mean, everyday people didn't used to have so much money in stocks. It was more in real estate. And real estate does not go down like stocks does. Real estate is more stable even when it goes down. And everybody now has to root for this thing to keep going. And so they'll listen to the people that say, oh, no, don't worry about this. Don't worry about debt levels. Don't worry about demographics declining, which they're declining at the speed of light in all developed countries in the world. Somehow the government will bring us out of this. The millennials bring us up through natural causes instead of printing money from 2024. And I'm very precise about this. I said from the beginning, the baby boom thing was going to peak in late 2007. I said that in the 80s. That's how predictable people earning and spending money as they age are in generational surges. And the baby boom was a big surge. So, of course, a great boom.
Found this video insightful? Hit subscribe, turn the bell on, smash that thumbs up, and dive into the links in the description below. Join our vibrant community to ensure you never miss a video. Your generous support fuels our passion. Thank you for watching. We love you.